Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the third official episode of N.P.H Live Photography Conversations. My name is Tunde, and today we have a very special guest. Now, self-described as the African Macro King, we'll be talking to mobile phone macro photographer and pioneer David Joseph. He'll be sharing his story, tips, and experiences as a thriving mobile phone macro photographer in Nigeria. So David, if you are here, I believe you are here, please request to join the live.
My name is David Joseph. I am a smartphone photographer, and I'm really passionate about macro photography. That's what I like used to thrill people. And I do understand macro photography is not really something Nigerians are kind of fond of, so I may have to really probably take time to explain that. Macro photography is all about photographing tiny subjects, probably ants or bugs, all those kind of things, and making them like one-to-one size or maybe higher than what they look like in real life. And it could also mean photographing large subjects, but just a little part of it and making it look very bold. So that's kind of like what macro photography is about. And I do wish many people join me in this stuff in Nigeria.
You once said that there are a lot of things that photography can change about a person.
Yeah.
But macro photography is that part that will change you that will change you the most.
Yeah.
So we want to know, what did you mean by that? How can macro photography change?
So I kind of say it this way, if you're just a normal person, it's not as if I'm abnormal, but getting into macro photography, I began paying attention to little things. Like the way my eye works now, it's very different from how yours works, I know. And even despite the fact that you're wearing a lens, I guess my eye is sharper than yours. You know why? Because I guess I've trained my eyes to look out for tiny details, even ones that people would miss. And I guess that's been the difference. But it's not just about spotting these things. It goes beyond that. When you spot these things, you're able to appreciate these things. Like you appreciate nature more, you love it more, and you take care of it as well. So that is one of the way it has changed me. The next one is patience, because nature does not rush. It takes its time, like to perfect things and all of that. So macro photography has really taught me patience. You like trying to photograph an ant or maybe a snail, like my latest post. Man, I had to struggle. And you know what? You don't have to touch it. If you touch it, shoot ends. So it's taught me patience as well as accuracy. You really have to be accurate. A lot of times you have just a moment to click a shutter, but if you miss it or if you aren't that accurate, it's gone. And another thing it has taught me is stability. Yeah, you have to be stable, not just physically, but mentally as well. I wish I could be stable that much mentally, but it's taught me stability, and it's also taught me stealth, like being able to, you understand. So it has really taught me a lot, and I love macro photography because of how it's changed me. Because say 3 years back, I wasn't this guy. I couldn't even let a spider walk on my body or whatever. But now I'm literally just playing with them, having fun with them. I used to be a guy that would see an insect and kill it, but now, man, you better not kill those things in front of me. Else I could find you, like, you understand. So it's taught me to love nature, appreciate it, protect it, and that's one thing we really have to do. And it's not just about, say, not killing the insects, but by our actions as well, because a lot is changing in our world. So I kind of wish I could get to a point whereby I have to educate Nigerians about these things. And I remember a situation whereby I once saw someone about to kill an insect, and I told the person not to. It was a really difficult one, but in the end, well, they did get to understand me. But at first, they thought I was a lunatic. You understand? This is Nigeria, and people don't really value those kind of things. So I do wish we get to a point whereby say maybe one day we get to have rich insects or maybe different species that we protect, just like my foreign friends do. So that those must be the way macro photography has changed me, and I love those ways.
I knew when I asked you that question, you'll go deep. Well done.
No problem.
Okay, sure. Let's talk a bit about your process.
Wow.
Now going through your post, you've described your macro photography process in the past
Yeah.
as 1, seeds, 2, stock it,
Yes.
3, snap it, and 4, share.
Okay.
So before we proceed, let's talk about each one, starting from number 1, seeds. So
Wow.
as a macro photographer, what's the best time of the day to go out and shoot?
For me, I think it could be any time, but I'm going to kind of like go different ways here. If you are using a DSLR or mirrorless, you could do that anytime with your flash, and anytime could be nighttime, because at night these insects are should I say, they're less sensitive then, and even in the morning. But if you are going to be using a phone and you depend on natural light, then you have to go around 4, 5, 6, depending on when the sun is less harsh. So that's what I'd recommend. But any time could be the right time. It just depends on the setting, because I have spots around here that probably when it's 3 p.m. it gets dark, and you don't expect me to shoot when it's dark. In those kind of places, but there are also spots that even at 6 p.m. it's still bright. So it depends. You have to study, like you study the environment, you know where the sun rises, sunset, and you know how long it stays and all of that. It will really, really help. So that's what I'd say for that.
Now, what if you're trying to photograph and the wind is just blowing you side to side and
You can give up on the shot. You
and you're
always have
having
another chance. So when it happens that way, you either give up or you just you fight against the wind. And how do you fight against the wind? That's where stealth comes in, and as well as patience, accuracy, and stability. Because when the wind is making, with macro, the in-camera magnification, it creates a lot of camera shake. So with the wind coming in, that's a lot of shake, and you may need extra light, because with extra light you can now increase your shutter speed and it will help you. But if you can't and the wind is kind of winning against you, I just recommend you do it another day. It's never too late unless you find the subject again. So
now, let's say macro photographers in that situation.
okay,
What's one in-camera tip that you can give them that may help?
as a mobile photographer, right?
As a mobile macro photographer.
Oh, okay. So here's my tip, and it's very much of a, I don't know, I can't call it a secret, but it's very much going to expose a lot of things. And the tip is the internal macro lens. That is the one that your phone company says your phone has macro mode, this, that. Man, that thing is fake. Leave that thing. Don't use it. Don't use it. Your main lens is better than that stuff, and I can tell you how. But don't use your macro camera. That one is poor. Believe me, very, very poor. It's a secret I've always wanted to tell people. If only they're like.
Okay, so since it's poor, what do you do?
Well, use your main lens, and probably sometimes you attach an external macro lens. Just no matter what, never use that macro camera that comes with your phone. Believe me, please don't.
Never.
People with iPhone.
Never. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay, before we go further, you mentioned external lenses.
Yes.
And I believe you may have a few So, like, can you tell us what they are and how they help?
Okay, so here's how an external lens works. Your main camera is not a macro camera. That is, it doesn't have a macro capability. Thus, you can't go so close to subject. But when you attach a macro lens, you are able to get closer to subject, and not just that, but it will give a little bit of magnification than what you get usually. So that's it.
Okay, sure, sure. And do you have any mobile phone external lenses that you would recommend?
The one I'd recommend is expensive, but if you're on a budget like me, I'd recommend Apexel. So, APEZ, no, XEL. I think I should add it as a comment. Apexel.
Sure, 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 sure.
Yeah, so that's the one I'd recommend. But if you need more info on it, whoever, you can send me a DM. I'll get you the one I use. But I think I have lots of them. I only use one, but I have more than one. And sometimes I don't use it.
Definitely, definitely. So let's go to the second step of your process, the stalking. So, on average, how long does it take for you to stalk your macro photography subjects or models?
That's very, very complex. And you know why? I think over the years, or let me not use years, maybe months, it has really changed. You know, at a point, I was somewhere I could just photograph anything, share it, and people would love it. But right now, I think the standard is a little bit higher, and I have to like get out bangers there for people to love it. So currently, it depends on the subject. That is one, but a lot of times I do spend at least 30 minutes, and 30 minutes is very rare. I could spend an hour photographing one thing, and in the end, I may not even love the shot. So it takes time, even more time than human photography.
So when you don't love the shot, do you just go home or do you keep trying?
Um, I may go home if I'm tired because okay, like my latest post, I did complain about waist pain, right? Good, it was real, man. I felt it. Like, you know, a snail is so tiny, and you have to get so low to photograph it. So a lot of time I was laying low, and yeah, my waist it did hurt, and I did feel it. But if you go home, it doesn't mean you give up. You know, sometimes you have to take some steps backward to move forward again, because let's say what if you run out of battery or something like that. So maybe you go home, you go sit back and think about it again, then another day you do it. But if you know you're never going to have that opportunity again, man, give it your all. Believe me, just give it your all.
Everything.
Yeah,
your whole soul. Everything.
Even if battery is about to die, just anything for the job, especially if the subject is rare.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So staying on the staying on the topic of stalking.
Yeah.
What's one pro tip that you would give an upcoming mobile macro photographer who's struggling to stalk their own subjects?
I about studying the subject. You have to study your subject and know how it works. And here's how that works. Like I know dragonflies. If a dragonfly kind of like sits here right now, and maybe when I approach it flies away, it's probably going to turn in circle and then come back to that spot. That's one of the habits I've observed. So you have to learn about them, and this doesn't necessarily have to be through Google or YouTube, just observation. When you do it, you get that experience and you get to familiarize with how the subject works, and that's just it. You get to know more about it. But another one is, instead of moving your body, try moving just your hand and be stable. Like sometimes you have to pause breathing as if you don't exist, just to get the shot. Like anything from the shot. You know, macro photography is not as easy as people think. Like we have to work so hard. You're not working with a human. You could just tell, hey, okay, freeze that. No, it doesn't work that way with insects. So we have to do the directing, the shooting, and every other thing. We even bring the props.
So talking about props, do you often bring props to your shoots?
Sometimes we do.
Like, what type of props would a macro
Photograph.
mobile photographer bring?
Okay, so probably if you want to make the ants fall in love, you could bring sugar, but that's fake. So for me, a lot of times the aren't rain, especially in dry season, so I could fake the drops. I do fake drops sometimes. So those drops may not be real, but I could just maybe a syringe or probably a brush and just spray it over, and you think, oh, when did rain fall? But actually there was no rain. I made the rain. I'm the rain.
No, but that's cool, it's cool, it's cool. So going to the third step of your process,
Okay.
snap. In your, as you mentioned, in your most recent post where you eloquently photographed a snail, you mentioned that the things macro photographers do to get certain shots
Yeah.
are not talked about enough.
Perfect.
So let's talk about it. Can you tell us about the struggles macro photographers go through to get certain shots?
Okay, so first off, I'm going to start with mosquito. And that's a very common thing in Nigeria, especially when the place is not kind of being taken care of properly. So even when I go to gardens, I do experience those things on my skin. And I think I've photographed one before. So mosquito is one of them. Then the next one is subject scarcity. And this probably applies to where I am. And that's because these things are not being protected. They kill it so much. Like the snail I photographed, that was at the garden, and it was in the morning. I usually go out in the morning these days because probably when I get home, I'll forget to do so, and maybe in the evening time the rain may fall. So the snail, it was about to be killed by the gardener. Why? Because she said it's probably going to destroy her plants or whatever. I don't know how a snail can destroy plants, but that's what I heard from her. So that's another thing. And, we have to like tell her, no, it's not that way, this, that, and all of that. We talk a lot, believe me. Like we have to do a lot of education, especially if you're somewhere people don't really know about these things. And the other fact that we always have to be in awkward positions just to get good shots. Like everything is so tiny, and to get to view these things, if you're not laying down or almost squatting or like just something yoga kind of like odd styles and just for the insects. So that could be a lot of stress because it not only weighs on your body but also your camera. A lot of times I use my phone without a case, so a lot of times my phone is made to touch the ground. And if you see my phone, you'll probably know that, well, this is not a phone for advert. It's a macro photographer zone because it touches the ground, the sun, and water. It's almost a very, very strong phone right now because it has gone through a lot. And not just that, I think it's probably more that I can't remember. Oh, animal language. Yeah. Thing about animal language. You just have to study their body. These things have body language as well. There's how you a subject, and oh, this one isn't feeling happy or strong. For bugs, I think if the antenna, I guess that's what it's called, is kind of like resting or moved back, that could probably mean that it's not that happy kind of. So they do have their own language, so we have to study that and all of that. So it's more.
So are you willing to study more of the language just to truly understand your subjects?
Yes, because it's very necessary if you want to move to the next step. And there's still a lot to learn. And I've only known so much about a few subjects. I need to study more about other ones, especially ones I can't find around here. Because let's be real, not every insect is around here. So you need to explore and all of that. Very necessary.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to your journey.
Thank you.
So now, staying on number 3, snapping. When you're out trying to get your shots, what role does focus stacking play in getting a crisp shot?
You want to expose me, right? It's a secret. It's a secret, but no problem because we are here to learn. Fine. Focus stacking is actually something that people who use a real camera benefit from. Using a phone, you really have to go that extra mile. I'd say focus stacking is the retouching of macro photography. With humans, you could need to cloud the pimples and all of that, but in macro, you have to stack. And here's how it works. The depth of field in macro photography is very, very shallow. So with focus stacking, you could take several shots that at different focus points, and then in post processing, you join it together and that's it. So you get say an expanded depth of field. You understand? So that's mainly about it, and it makes the subject more interesting because a lot of parts are in focus.
And how did you initially learn how to focus stack?
I have lots of good friends, and I guess one of them is YouTube. YouTube is a very good friend, and I recommend YouTube and Google to any mobile photographer out there. Then there are people in your niche that will teach you a lot, and I do have so many of them that teach me so much in the DM and everywhere. So that's really necessary. You have to have friends that are willing to teach you and you are willing to learn and respect them and everything. It's never about being a one-man squad. It's about the community. You understand? So it's all that way.
Talking about community, how important or what role has community played in your journey, apart from just maybe tips? Has it helped maybe as motivation?
Okay, so it's done a lot of things, and that goes beyond say learning, and it spreads on to say opportunities, and also getting to be involved in activities that are done. Like let's say the community makes it fun. And whatever you're doing, and if there is no fun, you won't enjoy it. So the community makes it fun, it makes it interactive, and they just make you have a good time. Like let's say if you look at my post, I do have a lot of engagement. I think I do feel that way, like it's enough, it's not bad. And one way that kind of like happens is if you start it first. Anything you want, you have to start it first. So that really helps, and that's where community comes in. You see, you just won't stand alone, and if you don't approach someone, you're not going to be friends with them, right? So you kind of like have to walk up to someone, give them a handshake and maybe a pat on the back, and get to know about them. They know about you, and that's it. Now you and the person, you're friends, right? Now the person has a friend that you probably don't know, and just that way, it's like should I say a pyramid? You understand, or should I say a triangle? Kind of. From one person, you get to meet two people, and from two people, you get to meet 5, 20, and that way. So it's very, very important. The shares, the shout outs, and all of that, they really help. So community is very, very in whatever one does, and they're the ones who will show you the way in case you get lost. And they're the ones who will also call you out in case you misbehave. And that's very important because not everyone is bold enough to like tell someone, hey man, you did bad there. So you really need those people that will tell you, hey, this shot isn't good. You understand? And not just that. No matter the picture, the person is always going to say it's nice and all of that. So that's it.
So in your opinion, let's say when somebody may tell you that your shot is maybe not up to par, how do you not take it personally to the heart?
You can't take that personal. Why? Because whoever tells you that loves you. Yeah, I mean it. Like it's very difficult to tell people what they don't want to hear. So if someone tells you what you don't fancy, and it's true, especially if this person is higher than you, even if the person is lower than you, there are certain things we do miss to spot at a particular time. So it's always a pleasure having people that tell me A or B or C about my pictures, and they help you improve. You understand? It doesn't matter how many followers you have, how many years of experience you have, or what you photograph. It happens to everyone. Looking at the screen for so long, and maybe that day just wasn't your favorite day. Probably there could be some things you missed in the shot, and it's very, very important to get someone who tells you about that, because a lot of times we edit alone, we share it alone without anyone telling us this is wrong, go back and edit this. So having that person that can tell you about that, it's very, very important, necessary, like a must. You need that.
You must,
Must.
So let's talk about the fourth step in your process.
Okay.
Share it. Now, you have an Instagram guide titled "Do not upload that picture.
I don't.
What to do after editing." So we have to ask, what three things should a mobile photographer check before uploading an image?
So for me, it's a very different thing because I understand it's a process, and the higher you go, the more difficult it gets. Back then, I could just take any picture and not mind if it's that good or bad, and probably upload it. But I kind of have this thing about me that, and it's the fact that despite being a mobile photographer, if people are going to say my pictures are good, I don't want it to be because I use a phone. I want it to be because actually the shot is good, irrespective of what was used to photograph it. And it's very, very difficult a lot of times because a mobile photography shot or a mobile photograph is hardly going to beat a DSLR or mirrorless shot that was shot by a pro. You understand? But while you may not get to that level, there is a point you can get to which okay, fine, I tried, I did a lot. You understand? So that is always one thing for me. I do always try to make sure it gets to that point. I do have this thing like I look at my Instagram feed a lot, and whenever I want to share a new picture, I always need it to be at least the same level or maybe even higher than the past 3 pictures I've uploaded. So that's usually it for me. And sometimes I may not be able to spot it, but I could show other people maybe just a little, not completely the picture so that the element of surprise will still be there, but I could look for a way to show someone the picture, and that helps. It's all about community and having good friends who are willing to tell you the bitter truth.
Tell you the truth.
Yes.
So, talking about community,
Okay.
let's talk about something you've spoken about before as well.
Wow.
Mobile phone brands.
Mobile phone
Now,
brands.
brands.
Wow.
Yeah, so, not too long ago,
Yeah.
you heard that Infinix Nigeria gifted you a brand new mobile phone. So we wanted to know, how did you get their attention? Was it solely by tagging, or did you reach out to them yourself?
So first thing, I don't tag phone brands. Yeah, and it's not as if I started by not tagging them. I decided to not tag them, and it happened with my first phone brand because things just didn't work out. So I didn't see the point to keep on tagging them when they actually didn't believe my photographs were with their phone. So there wasn't any point tagging them. So about Infinix, I think my good works brought them to me because I was like, should I say, one that doesn't have a home. Like my mother brand then did not recognize me. I don't know why. They actually said my shots with their phone, I claim that I don't use their phone to photograph, neither do I even use a phone. So it happened that way. It was a very sad one, but it motivated me in ways that I'm really grateful for, because it let me bring out the better things and probably the best things in me. So Infinix just came about, let's just say, them spotting my works, and the first day I saw their message, I was so surprised because a lot of people know Infinix and Techno that are related, right? So I was kind of surprised, but I'm very grateful it happened that way. So it's not about tagging. Tagging gets you nowhere. They see all your pictures. They know every mobile photographer, or a lot of them. They watch us. It's all about good content, believe me. Not just the good content. It's not about, say, giving one good content one day and then sleeping for the other days. You have to be consistent with the good content. And it goes beyond, say, just having good content and being great on Instagram. You have to have like an awesome personality, at least be able to get people to like you and also like other people too. You have to be able to accommodate people, because how you communicate in your comment section and even the DM, it's really a lot. You never know who is watching, and you never know who is sent from who and all of that. So how you receive people, it matters a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So staying in that same range, that same place, in your opinion, how can mobile phone brands do a better job in helping or pushing mobile phone photography?
Well, I don't really know if in Nigeria that will ever be possible because Nigeria is a whole different place. But should it ever be possible or have to be possible, it's going to start from them appreciating these people right from the launch event. Now, let me explain this. It's not as if I'm like mad at it or not happy with it, but it's just how it is. The reality. You see, it doesn't make sense to me when a phone is about to be launched and you call pro photographers who probably have no love for mobile photography to come and test these phones. Now, let me explain. Yeah. They do understand what shutter speed, white balance, and all those stuffs mean. Yeah. But there's something lacking, and that is the feeling. You understand? I use the phone to photograph. I know how my phone feels to me. It doesn't feel like a toy. But if you give a phone to someone who uses a real camera to photograph, that's just a toy, right? Probably the person doubts the capability, but give it to a mobile photographer, pure excitement. So that there is a difference, and I don't really feel they do put in much because, in as much as it's still photography, it's a very different thing. One of them is about software, and that is the mobile, but the real camera, it's about hardware. You understand? So you have to. I do dislike it when I see people using the macro mode and saying did this and did that, or say the company is lying about the pictures the phone took and all of that. It doesn't make sense at all. And plus the watermark issue too. I do hate that stuff that it has to have a watermark so it can be believed the phone shot it and all of that. It doesn't make sense. Have you ever seen Canon camera having watermark? You won't see that, and you'll still see Canon using those pictures, right? Good. Plus the fact that even if we place watermarks there, we need to edit these shots. Even real camera photographs are edited, so you can't now leave a phone photograph to not be edited. A phone can't even do it enough. So why then do you want it to not be edited? It's really a lot of things, and well, I just hope one day we can change it, but for now it doesn't look like they will anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for vetting. I can feel the passion through the screen.
True.
Now,
Very true.
you mentioned something about like how some people pick up the phone and it's like a toy.
Yeah.
And then mobile photographers, like this is their prized possession. This is their equipment.
Yes.
Right. And so staying there, I wanted to know. So now the term mobile phone photographer or mobile photographer is quite interesting because in the past you've said that not everyone that photographs with a phone should be called a mobile photographer. Some are just phone camera users.
Yes, very true.
So we wanted to know, what do you mean by that? Because if a person uses a phone to photograph, aren't they technically a mobile phone photographer?
Okay, so let me ask you a question. You're a doctor. I know you're not a doctor or you're not one yet, but you're a doctor. Just believe me, you're a doctor. Now, someone gets sick or probably wounds himself, and there's another dude around there, and he has a first aid box in his home, and he brings that out and probably helps tie the wounded spot. Now, do you call that person a doctor too?
No.
Good. So you got the question, right? Okay, chill, don't worry. I'm going to give you another one. Okay. Yeah, police. Let's just take you stop crime. Now, okay, there's a thief in the neighborhood and there's this muscular guy and he prevents the bad guy from escaping. Do you call that person how do I put it? You can't call that person law enforcement, right?
I get you.
Good. So here's how it works. What I really see is the difference between a mobile photographer and a phone camera user is number one, intent. What do I mean by that? When a mobile photographer carries the phone, he or she knows what she wants. You understand? But a phone camera user can be anybody who doesn't even know what they want. I mean, you could give a phone to a 5-year-old boy and just tell him, okay, fine, click this button, I'm going to go post there. you don't call him a mobile photographer because that intent is not there. The next one is experience and knowledge. It's not there. You see, a lot of people just take their phones and click buttons. It doesn't make them mobile photographers. You see, a phone is one thing everybody has, right? And a camera is one thing that's there in every phone nowadays. And especially with Web3, it's something that we all need. So everyone is always going to use their phone and capture one thing, but that doesn't make them a mobile photographer. Mobile photographers have experience. They have respect. They know what they are doing. You understand? So that separates them from the other ones.
I really like the way you explained it because apart from the answer, where I even found the question was the very interesting place.
Wow.
I think because low key on your page, you run like a mini meme page, but we'll talk about that later.
I love memes. I love memes. I like making people laugh. So
definitely. So David, to wrap up things,
okay,
we heard that you really want to take a macro photograph of a snake. Now, so we have to ask, what do you think your reaction is going to be when you finally photograph that snake?
I don't think it's going to be a lot, and there's a reason why I say so. I've had other things I've wanted to photograph, and when I did photograph them, it did feel great. But just right after that moment, it was just another step that had been taken, and I needed to take another step. So it's going to help that moment because I do get a lot of motivation when I am able to photograph a thing I had wanted to. But immediately after that, it's going to be past shot, and I need to do it again and again to kind of perfect it. A lot of times you won't perfect it from just one shot or one shoot. You kind of need to work with the subject over and over again. But this is a snake, and it's very, very difficult to even get to work with it once. But I believe I will get it done because it's a motivation. It makes me want to go out, explore, and all of that. So probably, you never know, one day I could just make a post and boom, what you see is the snake's eye because I love the eyes. So I don't know when, I don't know how, but I know it's going to be possible.
You said snake eye.
Yeah.
How important is it to get the eye of the subject in focus in the shots?
Very, very important, like A+ important. Because if the eye is not in focus, the eye is the most important and vital thing in any subject. So if it's not in focus, and let's say the other parts of the body are in focus, then it doesn't really make sense unless the eye is not on the frame. You understand? So if it is, the eye has to be in focus. Very important.
So just want to know, as a mobile macro photographer, what do you want your legacy to be? Or what do you want to be remembered for?
I don't know yet. That's a very unfortunate and surprising answer, but I don't know yet. But I do know one. Okay. I want to be there to inspire people, to let them know, even with your phone, you can do a lot. That's one thing I do want to know. It's not just about, say, photography, but being able to educate people through photography. And that's a very difficult thing in Nigeria, especially as macro photography isn't really recognized. And macro photography is kind of a hobby side of photography and not the business part of it. But I do hope I can educate a lot of people and probably help raise the next generation of mobile photographers. So I guess that should be it. That should be it.
Now, you said you spoke about your community earlier. Now, in the beginning of your journey, did you always have the support you had now, or was it seen as interesting?
So let's talk about social media support first, because support can be online or offline. And in terms of social media support, I think it rotates because not everyone is going to be passionate about the same things they are right now in the next, say, 6 months or so. One thing I do know is that there'll always be people who are supporting you, and probably, unfortunately, if they leave, maybe not intentionally, but because it just had to be that way, there's always going to be another person who is going to be there to support you. Then in terms of offline support, I think you build that up yourself, because if you are doing something nobody knows, they have to know what they're supporting. So if they don't know what they're supporting, they can't support. So you have to educate them. That's why I say education is very important in macro photography. You educate them, you let them know that this is what it is, this is how it's done, and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've said before that in your photographs, in your mobile phone macro photographs, you like to try to add you into it, like yourself into it.
Yes.
How, and so what do you mean by that? And how can somebody else do that?
So using a phone to photograph has really taught me a lot. And one thing it has taught me is the fact that I probably wouldn't be able to get certain subject right in certain way. And one way I do avoid that is by doing other things. Like a lot of times, if I know I won't be able to get close to the subject to get a super magnified shot of it, I just play around with composition or maybe lighting and just try to make something about it catchy or interesting. And then I could bring in a story or just how I felt or something like that. And about adding myself into it, like the shot itself, it could be the fact that I could probably have something I'm holding as a background, and that could be a leaf. It's usually nothing much, or I could just detect its movements. Like if I'm approaching it from a particular side with my own hands, it will want to move away from there. So coming to the other side, which I want it, I can get to maybe photograph it the way I want it. So it's actually a very difficult one for insects because you can't put you into insects, but there's a way you photograph them and you feel like, oh wow, this reminds me of me, this is me. And so that's what I think it is. And wow, I'm seeing someone that is just joining this live video, and he's someone that motivates me a lot. Can I shout him out right now?
Of course. Go ahead.
He's a brother, Dara Ojo at Explore with Dara. He's a Nigerian macro photographer, a very good one, believe me, a perfect one. And he's based in China. I recently discovered his account, and trust me, I'm wild. Let me type his address down here, so anyone should just check him out. Trust me, you'll love this account. Everything that is here is a banger. That's it. Just check it out. So, welcome back.
Perfect. So, at this moment, we're taking questions from the community.
Okay.
And so, there's one question in here that says, please ask if he has an exhibition in his future plans. And is he thinking of NFTs as well?
Well, yeah, I do. Both of them. I just need someone who is going to tell me I'm going to collect or I'm going to be there and all of that. I do. I have them in plan.
Now, if anybody has any other question, please type it now. Or do you have any question or anything you want to say, promote to the people watching now or in the future?
Okay.
Maybe an NFT project.
Okay. So, that should be probably I don't know. That should be kind of like ways to support the creator, and that could be say NFT. If there's any NFT enthusiast here, you could just send me a DM and we could link up. We could communicate. So that's the only thing I have to say right now.
Definitely. So, which states are you? Where are you exactly?
Okay, right now I am in Akwa Ibom State. It's in the southern part of Nigeria, and right now I am in Unoyo. So my school's campus is divided into two. We have I think it's three. I don't know why. So right now I'm at the annex part of it, and I do photograph a lot around here. Let me just turn the camera around a little bit, and it's a little bit messy because today is Saturday and I don't think the workers are really working enough. So that's just how it is. But my main spot is somewhere around there, the other side.
Okay. And from going through your posts, you said you had like a certain section that you always photograph in, right?
Yeah. I do. But lately I've not had any one spot because those spots have been cleared, and I probably can't get to those spots at all times. So I just do it anywhere, and I guess that's the fun about macro photography. You can do it anywhere. It doesn't have to be a specific spot. We don't need a studio. We just anywhere. We just photograph the subject and we have fun. So that's just it. Yeah.
Perfect. And so, David.
Yes.
And that right there, I believe, is a wrap.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming through today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. And to everyone.
And so,
thank you.
Definitely. Now, I was trying to hint you because I think you have an NFT project called Eyes. I can't remember the last term.
Beyond the limitation.
Beyond the limitation. So feel free to tell us about it and how we can
okay.
help out with them.
So it's something I kind of like did struggle with, like both having to maybe put out a collection and all of that. And if you observe, I kind of don't even push it much, not necessarily because people aren't like gaining from NFT, but I'm really trying to be sure I'll be able to give value to whoever gets one and all of that. So I think Beyond the Limitation is about certain limitations that I've faced as a mobile photographer and also as a teenage boy. I did really face a lot of things back then. I struggled with depression and so much. And even though I still do right now, it's on a low level. So right now I'm a youth. So so it's different. So it's about those things in images, and it talks about how one can go beyond those things. And you know, as a Nigerian, we are plagued with so many limitations, and even the country we live in is a limitation. So that hurts very much. So it's just about that. And if there's anyone who'd love to check it out, you can send me a DM. I reply like flash. I'm very, very fast. So
definitely. What do you think the role of NFTs are in mobile macro photography? Do you think they're going to help? Do you think it's going to not help?
It's a very complex question, and other people are free to have their own views. But for me, I just see it as a way, say, people who support a creator or who love a creator's work can go ahead and support. It's really nothing like, I don't know why I'm trying to, or finding it so difficult to see it past, say, a JPEG. I'm sorry if I'm disrespecting anyone's view, but I'm really trying to get to understand a lot about it than just a JPEG or whatever. I understand a lot of people put so much into they pour in their spirit, their body, their art, and all of that. But well, I think it will take some time before we really get to benefit much from it. It will stabilize. It will be used for good very soon. So that's just how I see it. It's something of the future. It's going to be with us. I think it's all about giving value.
Definitely. Now, the thing is that because it's definitely something that we're all trying to understand, learn, and especially as a working photographer, earn, because there's definitely a lot of earning potential in the NFT field.
Yes.
Definitely. So great. Thank you once again, David, for coming through. Really appreciate you. We'll send you a DM after this.
Okay.
And so for everyone watching, my name is Tunde. This is another episode of N.P.H. Live Photography Conversation.
That's right.
You can watch or listen to this episode or our future episodes on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, and pretty much anywhere else that you will listen to or watch your favorite podcasts. So, and last but not least, we want to thank you for watching. And me and David, N.P.H. and David, will see you later.
Thank you very much.